Hey y'all, today we are talking to Beverly of Miles and Coffee here on YouTube. I am really excited to have her here to share her story about moving to Mexico and what life has been like here. But before we jump into that, if you are new to the channel, welcome. My name is 𝙍𝙞𝙨𝙤𝙪𝙧𝙘𝙚. But most folks on the internet know me as Picky Girl Travels the World. I am a financial educator, expat coach. I feel like it is my duty in life to help other Black women gain the financial confidence they need so that they can travel, so they can move abroad or do whatever the hell it is that they want to do. And if that sounds like your kind of thing, go ahead and click subscribe and click the little notification bell. That way you will get notifications next time I post a video, next time I go live, all of that good stuff. Okay, so Miss Beverly, I came across your channel just doing, you fall down a YouTube wormhole, and I was like, wow, hey, I'm always looking for Black women in Mexico. And I watched your video where you were sharing your story of why you came here solo. Solo travel is another, I don't know if I'm going to use the word passion of mine, but definitely an area of interest. I have a Facebook group called Solo Sisters, which is a space specifically for Black women solo travelers. We welcome brand new baby solo travelers, people who have never traveled alone ever, as well as experienced. And it's about connecting with other women who are not just going to sit back and wait for other people to live life. And that's very much the vibe I got from watching your channel. So I know that were you living in Texas before?
Oh, that's a good question. Thank you for asking. First of all, thank you so much. I consider this an opportunity because that's how I learn and grow, is by watching people like you that are experienced, because I'm still a newbie. So thank you so much for the opportunity to share. But I have lived in Texas, but that's not where I moved here from.
Okay.
Yeah. So I moved to Mexico from Louisiana, which is right next door.
Yeah, no, my mama's people are from Louisiana. I have relatives in New Orleans and in Baton Rouge. Now, you initially came to Mexico when?
Okay, the first time I came to Mexico, never been here before, was July 2019, Adelia, only for 30 days. Of course, right? Just for 30 days, right? And I realized I do not want to go back to stress.
Okay.
So officially this month makes 2 years.
And that's what I was going to say. Okay, so here you are 2 years later after only coming for 30 days. Now, that 30 days was when you were in the state of Jalisco. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. In Guadalajara, Jalisco. You mentioned Solo Sisters, and by the way, if you leave the link, I really want to join that group on Facebook because that's how you learn and grow. But I'm just going to tell people, when you travel solo, you cannot live in fear. Because of the media, I was scared to death, but that's how determined I was. I'm like, well, I can do anything for 30 days. If it doesn't work out, I'll never step foot in Mexico again. And the opposite happened. So every day I pinch myself because I am so thankful that I just felt the fear and did it anyway. And I'm still in the process of growing. It's just life-changing.
And yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned that because I literally just recorded the podcast episode this week, which is about like not letting fear stop you. And that was one of the points I made, that, yeah, it's okay to be afraid. The problem is where you let that stop you. So, okay, so let's dig into that for a little bit.
Okay.
you were coming to do English teacher training?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I'm a lifelong educator. And as a teacher trainer myself back in the States, I welcome any opportunity to take training. Now, my principal didn't like it, but I promised him I would only miss the first 2 weeks of school. And thank God I had the days to take it without it coming out of my check. But when I returned on my return date, I walked in with an envelope and he just acted like he did not see me. Because he didn't want to hear it. But I told and then, the question, do you know Spanish? No, I'm learning. But you know what? He was happy for me because I was one of those that gives 150%. He trusted my judgment when I told him this is what I want to do. And so that TEFL training, in my opinion, is worth more than any other degree that I could have received to add to my teacher certification. Because now here it is, I'm an international teacher on my terms as an independent contractor. And I will tell anybody, don't wait, look at your options, because I work part-time now and live better than I did on a full-time salary.
That part right there. I don't know if you know this, I taught public school for 19 years.
You're a warrior.
Oh yeah, no, warrior is the right word. And then I did international schools 3-4 years, and then I call myself, I retired last June like 24th, 25th. So it's been about a year for me. So you were like, I'm gonna go take this TEFL training class in Mexico. And what kinds of things were you afraid of?
I can travel back because when I allow myself, I can feel it. Number one, not knowing the language was a big fear. Number two, the skin I'm in, right? Are they going to accept me? And then being a woman, right? And I'll never forget getting off the airplane, first time in Mexico, surrounded by people that do not speak my language and I don't speak their language. And now when I look back, the fear was all mine. Those people didn't mind my color. And even at the airport, there were people that tried to help me. I just let them know that I was a little bit nervous and I didn't know the language, but people want to help you. That was my first clue. And the other fear was I did the choice to stay in a home to learn the culture and to get to know a family and, to kind of like interact. And if I knock on this woman's door, is she going to like me? Will we get along? All of my fears were assuaged within the first couple of hours, and then I realized, okay, first lesson, do not believe the negative press. That was my first lesson. The fear was all in me. All of the fears that I had were just diminished immediately.
One of the things that comes up a lot is a fear of like safety coming to Mexico. And were you afraid? Were you concerned about that?
Okay, that's excellent because that is probably most people's number one fear. But a year prior to actually taking the course, I started following some YouTubers that did live in Mexico, and I did a lot of research on the US travel advisory on travel.state.gov. It will tell you different countries within Mexico do not travel, and then what precautions to take. And I was born and raised in Chicago, so there's just a certain antenna that goes up when I'm in an area where my body just knows, be cautious. So I don't live in fear, right? But that was further down the line than speaking the language, being accepted, and what would people really, really take to me. So I had the fear of travel, but I know how to take precautions. And then the family that I stayed with, the lady was so overprotective. Do not use your phone. You pay attention on the bus. We're going to help you get to where you need to go. You know, just to make me aware, you know, just be careful. And I appreciated that. So I took every advice that she gave me.
Yeah. Someone made a comment not too long ago. They were asking about, like, why is it that the Black expats, the Black foreigners in our groups, we don't ever talk about the violence and safety and that sort of thing. And I don't know, what are you gonna say? I'll wait and say what I'm gonna say.
Well, you know, it's such a big issue because, again, I'm going to say this very carefully because I don't want your channel to get dinged because of something I say, but there is very bad press that you can only find out is not true when you make the journey yourself. That's been my experience. And the other thing is, I tell people, don't take my word for it. You need to come, but before you come, do your homework, do your research. You know, for instance, even in the States, I didn't walk around at night by myself. I didn't frequent bars by myself. So it's like common sense, you know, we tend to listen to one side of a story and then run with that instead of looking at that and making our research. Because yes, I would tell anybody, be careful, but don't not come because you fear safety.
And I would add to that, our perspective, being Black Americans living here, you know, because safety is an illusion no matter where you are. But my safety here, I don't have to worry about the state, the police, like that's, so like that, I guess I got a little offended when she was implying that we were trying to minimize it. And it's like, it's just such a non-issue in the day-to-day. That's why we don't talk about it. It's not like we're trying to keep it hush-hush. It's just not a prevalent issue in our day-to-day life here.
May I add to that, please, Adelia? Remember, I said that I followed some that looked like us and some that looked like the other persuasion. It was a man from the other persuasion that sent me a private message and assured me, Beverly, I have friends that look just like you, and you will be relieved to realize that when you get here, that will not be an issue. And he turned out to be right. He said, because people look at your aura, they go by your positive energy, they go by your character, and they go by your light. He said, no one will care that you're African American and that you're a woman. They will watch and look at your manners first, because there's a certain amount of courtesy and decorum, as you already know. And so that's what you follow through. And when he said that, I filed it in the back of my mind, and he was absolutely right. It really is a non-issue for us. But in the States, especially now in 2020, it is a big issue. I worry for my family's safety in the US.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So when people ask me that, it's like that was a concern living in the US. That is not at the top of my list now that I live in Mexico. Not at all.
It's not. It's not.
So
wait a minute. I'll put it like this. Nobody could pay me to live in Chicago, and I'm from Chicago. That's all I'm going to say.
I understand. I do. Okay, so you were going to do this TEFL course for 30 days. You did a homestay. And in the process of that month, you knew, I'm coming back here. I'm not going to do that job I had. Was there a singular moment or event, or it was just kind of,
oh, wow.
Was it something that was kind of maybe in the back of your mind already before you came?
Oh, wow. That's a 2-for-1. In the back of my mind, I was thinking I can use this TEFL later on, quote unquote, when I retire. The singular moment for me was probably after my first class, when I realized that the culture is so beautiful, and that even with me not knowing the language, people were so kind. That very first day when I had to teach, we went to class and taught the very first day. I had to hide my face when every student walked out and said, "Thank you, teacher." I was crying. And I didn't want them to, I had never heard that in all my years of teaching, and they meant it. So not only am I providing something that is very needed and necessary and helpful to give back, but the culture, okay? My second seminal moment came after I accepted my job and went to check my blood pressure and almost fainted when my blood pressure was at a normal level that it has never been since I was on medication starting 10 years ago.
Wow.
So something about this gracious culture agrees with my body, you know? So those are things you listen for, but that very first day of teaching, the gracious attitude, you know, of the culture just cemented to me that why am I rushing back to stress? Why do I feel the need to run back to something that I'm dreading?
That I told somebody the other day, I no longer do things that I don't want to. Like, that time in my life is over. So I totally get you there. I totally get you there.
Can you please repeat that? I mean,
it's true, and it's very simple. Like, I no longer do, like you said, you were dreading the return. And how many times in life do we go through with something when internally we're like, man, I really don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. That time in my life is over. The Adelia that exists now, and folks can call me whatever they want, but I will tell you the quality of life that I live now.
Yes.
Something,
and you know, nobody would know that. You have to experience it. Yeah, we can say it all we want, but it's so opposite. For example, I was so just, you know, rigid and rush. Oh, honey, no, that is no longer. I don't feel the need to do. It's a different rhythm altogether. I'm still me,
yes,
but just a better, the better life version of me, you know? So I get that. I get that.
Something you said about the culture.
Mhm.
And I think it's profound, because I think a lot of people wonder, and I've seen this question in some of the Blacksit groups, like, why is everybody going to Mexico? And, you know, there are the obvious reasons like location, that sort of thing. But I think being a Black American, we're never really embraced by the culture of our home country.
It's true.
Okay. And then you move someplace else where for the first time, you're just seen as you know, and the culture here is very welcoming. People are very kind. And so you pair those two things together. Well, yeah, I could see why lots of Black people go to Mexico and are like, you know what? This is it. This is the place for me.
You said it. You are not only welcomed, but you're embraced, and everybody wants to know where you're from, what do you do, and even coming here, because I wanted to be at a cafe where I could get my coffee and kind of like do some things. But even coming here, the taxi driver was like, okay, are you going back to the States, or do you live here? Right? Those are the three questions I get the most, but you're welcomed, and just people really want you to stay. I've had people tell me, you're family now, please stay, you know, and I welcome that. I've never heard that in the States.
And that's just it. So it's a very, after living so much of, you know, your adult life there and then coming here, like, yeah, it's really an incredible thing. So by the end of the 4 weeks, you knew, okay, I'm done.
Mhm.
Did you finish out that school year or did you resign immediately?
I remember telling the lady that I stayed with, I don't want to go back home. And she just kind of looked at me, gave me this knowing look. So we were allowed an extra week after we graduated the course. So basically it was 5 weeks, not a full 30 days,
Okay.
5 weeks. And during that 5th week after I graduated, I just made up my mind. I will go ahead and type up my letter. And I even talked with one family member and she's like, you don't have any children. What do if I were in your shoes, it's a no-brainer. And that encouraged me. So I just knew by that 5th week, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this in. And I think my job was supposed to start 3 weeks later. So that gives me 3 weeks, to tie up loose ends and whatnot. But yeah, I resigned immediately. Matter of fact, they even asked me, well, do you want to go back to the classroom and get your thing? No, the students are in there. I don't want to disrupt whoever is their sub right now. I can wait and come back after school because I knew what they were doing in Delia. You go back and see the kids are gonna say, where you been? No,
because the school year had started
2 weeks in.
2 weeks in, and when you say your job was supposed to start in 3 weeks, you had already lined up a job teaching English.
Yes, ma'am. That was one of the questions. Do you have a job? Yes. I had already, and that was again the fear. I almost missed that opportunity. Well, I'll go and check it out. Well, no, maybe I won't. I don't know if I want to go that far. So being open to the opportunity. I had already decided I like Guadalajara or I like another place, but the opportunity was further south than I intended. But I was open enough and I thought if I don't, I'll get back to the States and say I coulda, woulda, shoulda. So again, just look, if I don't have to take it. But once I came to see and the director mentioned coffee.
Yeah.
One of the coffee.
Yeah. Now, do you think you would have still resigned your job in the US had you not lined up a job already?
Oh, that's probably not.
Okay.
You know why? Because we're committed. I was a teacher trainer, teacher leader, and I did promise my principal that I would come back. That was why he was so not hesitant, for me to leave. Yeah. But then when he realized, okay, you've taken this course, you have already started using that skill. I told him, I don't want to wait. I've had such good training. I'd rather put it to use. He got that, and then he knew the type of person that I'm not just jumping somewhere. I'm really committed at this point. See? Okay, I'm really committed at this point. And he knew that pretty much I had made up my mind. So he pretty much just respected my decision. You're talking about a long-term educator, and I'm at a crossroads where I could either go A or go to Z. And so I chose the route toward Z, and I had been talking retirement. That would have been my year to actually leave education anyway. I just left a little early. A little bit early.
When I can remember, I had a moment sitting at my desk with a stack of papers. It was like September. School had just started. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. But I taught AP. And so I knew there was no one who was going to prepare those kids for that exam. So I was like, okay. But I knew that even if I didn't have something lined up, I was done. I knew that. Whether I was going to be working at Starbucks or whatever, I knew I was done.
Yes. I was pretty invested. That 30 days was so intense. This is more like a 3-month, 4-month course in 30 days. And I was so invested that I was ready to get started. I think they saw my resolve when I walked in. And that was, you know what? That's the opposite of what Beverly would have done. The other Beverly would have said, I gotta finish the school year, I gotta do this, and then when I walked in, chilled, relaxed, here you go.
Because you saw what life could look like.
Yeah, the assistant principal looked at me and said, you guys, she doesn't hear you. She walked in with that paper. And do you know, we had a come together moment at that point where she said, you know what, Bev, I applaud you. I probably stayed too long as well. She had options that she had missed, that she did not pursue. And she was just thinking, I regret that now. I didn't want to have a regret. If it didn't work out, I could have come back. And you see, I'm on year 2.
Yep. Yeah. Now, the program that you did, how many, like how intensive was it? Like how many hours a day were you studying, teaching, all of that?
Boy, that is really good because remember, I'm of a certain age, so this is not hop, skip, jump anymore. And they told you up front, this is intense. You will not have time for the partying and all that until after you graduate. You're talking in class. Let's see, go back. It was a full day of class. I want to say 6, not including lunch. Okay. And sometimes, because we're actually doing our practice teaching, sometimes you had to go teach the students and then come to class, do lesson plans, do all of that, do the training, and then teach afterwards. It was a full day, so much so. And then, every week, reading assignment, writing assignment, some type of exam. And, we were given this course book. And when I tell you we went from cover to cover, that man was so thorough. I have so much respect for him. But by week 3, it was so tough. I almost wanted to quit because I just felt like I'm the oldest. This is a lot of training. But I'm stubborn too. So when the going gets tough, that's when I just challenge myself, But we all made it through it. And by week 4, it was so intense, but rewarding because we were working before and then training and working afterwards. And then, that was just part of it. But I tell people, if I can do it, anybody can. I was the oldest. So people are looking at me, this is the old lady, taking this course. But I think I earned that much more respect because they said I was a real teacher, but I told them, but this second language thing, this is totally different. I'm just like you. So all that is out the window. But it was so rewarding. I'm so glad that I just stuck in there and did it, It's rewarding.
And you have weekends off?
We had them.
Well, yes. as off as a weekend can be for a teacher.
Right. You had the weekends, but that was no playtime. I remember, just like I'm in a cafe right now, taking all of my information and sitting down in a cafe, doing my readings and writings and all of that. So that I would be prepared, And then, of course, you had time to, visit and see some of the sites and some of the architecture and go on some of the touristy activities, but business first. And then I felt like now I can do some touristy things, see the sites.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure somebody watching this, after hearing you talk about this, would want to participate in this program or find out more information. What's the name of it? And I can include your link in the description.
Excellent. The name of the school, I'm going to give 2 different names. The actual information that got me started on this journey is called TEFL Academy. It's the most expensive program, but everything that they promise you get. When they asked my interview and did the phone, to try to find out orientation, they want to know, okay, are you doing this online, face-to-face? And when I said face-to-face, they gave me different choices of what would happen that summer. Well, when July was Guadalajara, I'm like, wait a minute, I want to go to Mexico anyway. I'll take that one, right? So that's when they referred me to ITTO, which is the training program in Mexico. And I cannot say enough about that program. You know, as teachers, we know when someone is prepared or not. These people were so thorough. As a matter of fact, they're still taking care of me. If I call them and tell them I need this and I need help or whatever, it's done, you know, because they let you know you are our graduate. If you need anything, let us know. So yeah, ITTO was the name of the program in Mexico. And as a matter of fact, I've had so many questions. I did do a video about the program and then the 3 platforms that I teach for as well.
Okay, and we will put links to all of that in the description.
Yeah. I just encourage teachers, if you have time during the summer, you don't have to go and take it face to face. Always add to your you know, your skills, because it's not going to hurt, it'll just help you in the long run, you know.
Okay. And did they help you find the job that got you to stay in Mexico?
That is guaranteed.
Hey, now.
That's part of the program, that upon graduation, they guarantee you employment. So out of the 7 of us that took that course, that's how one-on-one it is, they keep the class small. There were 4 of us, and 3 out of the 4 of us were working immediately. Mine, I just told the lady because I had to go back of a certain age, I had to tie some loose ends, but they guarantee that they have so many skills and contacts, and you know, they're in touch with a lot of programs and whatnot. So it was my director. I told him, no, I'm just going to teach online. Well, I think you want to look at this place. Oh, he would see what they do is they observe you, because they do a really good survey ahead of time. So they know what you're looking for, and then they observe you in class, right? And he was right. So I ended up taking a face-to-face course. He was so right on every level.
Well, and I'm just thinking, because one of the topics that comes up and we talk about is getting a work visa, getting residency, and that sort of thing. And so if someone was looking to get a work visa in Mexico, this seems like a really good direction to go, because otherwise it can be a bit of a struggle if you're looking to work here. So
oh yes, I agree. And you know, that's why I thought 4 years from now I'd do this. But since I was already offered the job, that was my way in through the work visa, and it has worked out really well for me. I'm on visa number 2. So, you know, and then of course you do that 4 times and you can apply for the Permanente, which I do plan to do that. That was just an easier route. That's why I didn't hesitate, you know. Yeah. Again, but that was me doing research before getting here, realizing, I have a sponsor, right? So I don't have to wait.
And that is not always, and I've talked about this in other videos, you know, every country has their, including the United States, has their limits and their requirements when foreigners want to work there. And trying to secure a sponsor on your own, that is not an easy thing to do here.
It's not. It's not.
I think this is awesome. And you're 2 years down, 2 more to go, and then Permanente. Hey. Okay.
And I would like to add that the price that I paid for what I received, if I had to do it again, I would do it again. Because compared to the traditional route for taking courses, it was cheap by comparison. So look at what all you get. You know, job placement and a sponsor to start your residency, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, that is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Now, you are currently living in the state of Chiapas.
Yes.
And anybody watching this, if you've watched any video of mine, you know that I am a city girl. I am a big fan of Mexico City. I visited Chiapas. I was in December, the week before Christmas. I was in San Cristobal de las Casas, and I had a little mini rant, American privilege moment on Facebook, because I was trying not to leave my accommodation and I wanted to order food. And I was like, there are no delivery apps. How do people live like this? And, you know, I just went all off. But so no, Chiapas is not the place for me, but you seem to be having the time of your life in Chiapas.
Well, Adelia, I'm a little bit older than you are, just by 1 year, right? But it's a lot slower, and I have been to San Cristobal de las Casas, and in my opinion, it was too touristy.
It is.
I was like, am I in Chicago? I mean, because it's that congested, right? But here, it's just greener, and it's so laid back, and that's, I guess, what I was seeking, and I wanted to experience the real Mexico, where it forced me to interact again. There's that word, getting in with the locals and trying to just adopt the culture, you know. Thank God I did meet a couple of Americans because of the work, you know, that I do, but maybe for the average person where I live would not be appealing, because
and tell the audience where it is that you live, because I do like to highlight. I don't want to just be known like, oh, she's always talking about Mexico City. I do want to show, hey, we're a little bit of everywhere in Mexico.
Everywhere, yeah. Well, a lot of people have not heard of 𝙍𝙚𝙨𝙤𝙪𝙧𝙘𝙚. It's 3 hours outside of, no, 2 hours outside of San Cristobal, but it's a little less known because it's the poorer part of the Mexico, I should say. A lot more indigenous people live here, and it's just very, very slow. As a matter of fact, when I had to go to the embassy, Mexican embassy, that was one of their questions. Why would you want to? There's nothing there, you know, and I just let them know what I showed them my TEFL. My director recommended it because they were very suspicious of that. But it's not the type of place where you want to go, where you want to party, hang out at night. I would recommend other places, for instance, Mexico City, Veracruz, Oaxaca, you know, San Cristobal, you know. But I'm close enough to where if I want to go someplace, which I am going on vacation tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is a place where you can have a home base, and then you're close where you can get on a plane and go wherever you want to go. But for me, I'm a slow traveler, and I'm a kind of a loner. I am an introvert, so I do
we team introvert over here.
Yes. Okay, see, I knew there was a reason, and when I get a chance, because I was so busy wrapping up the school year for this school where I am, but I do want to go back. I've been drawn to your channel, so I've got some ones lined up that I want to see. But it's just for me, I need peace and beauty, and that's what drew me here. But again, I'm going to put it back on the director of that program. He watched me and said, Beverly, I met my wife in Chiapas, right there in San Cristobal. He said they're known for coffee. And he kept asking me, is where you live important to you? Is having a place to stay of your own important to you? Yes, it is. So some of the other people, it was more important that they be by the nightlife and all that. Mm-hmm. So that's what he knew I was attracted to, and that's what drew me here. But on my channel, I really don't highlight Comitán as much. I highlight all parts of Mexico and tell people do their research, because I don't want people to come here and say there's nothing here to do. And I told you.
A friend of mine, her in-laws actually live in Comitán. That's the only reason I have ever heard of it. Now, you said, you know, it's beautiful there, because when I come to the state of Chiapas, that's really what I think about is the landscape and the natural beauty.
Yes.
Now,
and the mountains.
Yes, and the mountains. And so you've been there since 2019, which means you were there during the pandemic. or I
Yes,
say during the pandemic, since the beginning of the pandemic, because we're still technically in it.
technically, yeah.
Yes, we're still technically in it. What has that, what did that look like for you?
Wow. I actually told my family that I could not imagine being anyplace else during the pandemic. I know for a fact that where I was in Louisiana, I would have been nervous and probably fired because of the concerns for safety. But here, I was working face to face at the time, right, for that school that hired me. But due to the pandemic, of course, everything closed. You already know that. And I remember going to Walmart to get supplies, and it dawned on me, oh, I can open up my online schedule, because I had applied and been accepted, but I wasn't able because of my schedule to work online. And the night I opened up my schedule, and by the next day, boom, 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 I had appointments.
Wow.
It was amazing. And then being an introvert, I don't know if I should say this or not, and because I do have friends and we hang out and do coffee, we go to brunch and all that. I love, before the pandemic, we always ate tacos twice a week, or every weekend we went to somebody's house. But I didn't really start getting bored and have the mental issues until a year in. And that's just by nature of the fact that I'm used to being alone, you know. And I never forget, it was a shift. I celebrated my birthday alone. I wasn't comfortable hanging out with some people at their house or inviting them to mine, right? But now we've gotten back to where we visit, we hang out and do coffee, but it really didn't dawn on me. But but I did do one thing. I did get out and go walking every day, to get out and get some fresh air and to release, mental stress, and just to get out in nature, but not visiting, but getting out for a walk. Yeah.
And because to anybody watching this, the country of Mexico has an epidemiological stoplight system. So green would be 100% open all the way to red, which means you should be in lockdown.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, I was in Chiapas in December, and one of the reasons I chose to go to Chiapas, because my original plan was, I think, Guanajuato or Querétaro. One of the reasons I chose Chiapas was because once the stoplight system started, they were one of the only two states that were green.
Yes.
Like from the jump. And then I think at one point y'all got yellow, but at the same time y'all were green. I'm getting texts from Mexico City about how we're about to go to red. So when I returned to a lockdown in Mexico City. So that's why I was curious about what it looked like for people who were living there, because it was a start just visiting from Mexico City. Because when I arrived in Mexico City in July of 2020, they were just coming out of the first lockdown, and we were orange, and we stayed orange until we went to red.
Yes.
So, like the city was, of course, the worst hit because there's 20 million people here, close quarters. It's just going to be bad. But I just wondered what it was like being in, at least on paper, what appeared to be one of the better places that were doing a little better with the situation.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the stoplight, because I followed that and I still do check that. But it was a relief to know that we were green, except for a couple of months when it was yellow. And of course, I had a favorite cafe that I could go to and just sit and breathe and take the mask off for a few minutes because I'm surrounded by air. But I remember that little by little, you would see the street vendors not out anymore. I'll never forget, it was a turning point when they closed the government building due to COVID. Because they had cases. And then, of course, some buildings and some establishments were closed. And so I basically would have the cafe to myself, and you'd walk and not see but it wasn't very long compared to other states. So we are really fortunate. But another thing of that, again, is the culture. I'll never forget on one of my videos, a person made a comment, oh, how disappointing. They're still wearing masks. And I told her, well, it's not mandated, but the culture demands that people respect each other. So I follow their lead. When people are in public and they know they cannot distance, out of courtesy, they wear a mask. That's the difference between here and other places, is it's a choice and we do it out of respect. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, even I had some people come and visit me here in the city, and then people who have gone back to the States and then come here, and you know, there's 20 million people. I can't tell you how many different wrong ways I have seen a mask worn, but there still was sort of this vibe of, I'm trying. It wasn't, I'm wearing this mask because they're making me. It's like, I'm trying to do what I need to do to keep us all safe. And you could feel that.
Yes.
And so it's interesting that you had a similar experience in Chiapas. I'm going to ask this question because I know anybody watching this is curious. They want to know, how are you received specifically in that part of Mexico? Because as you mentioned, has a larger indigenous population. They get fewer foreigners, and I know they get very few foreigners that look like we do.
Right. Let me correct that. I have not seen anybody that looks like me here, except once, and I was in a florist shop. And I said, oh, and he looked at me and he said, I know a thing. I said, that doesn't mean it's a name. He's from Cuba, right? Other than that, I think I saw maybe one person I could tell was passing through. He might have been an athlete. But now here's the other thing. It's like a non-issue. And I know I can't blend in because by now people know there's this little Black lady walking, and she doesn't know it's Spanish, but it's just like, it's just been a good reception. That's the only way I can put it. The people know. Oh, here's the thing. The thing I get the most is, are you American? Simple.
People don't assume that.
It should be. You know, I mean, it's not the color per se, because this is what they think when they think American. Oh yeah, she's gonna leave a good tip. That's a good feeling, because they just assume, well, you know, here tipping is not the forte. I'm just gonna confess, sometimes I even tip the taxi, and I know you're not supposed to, but you know, like if I get groceries and they help me, I tip. But that's what I've noticed. They want to know, are you from the United States? Good. You know, but
that's interesting. Because Mexico City does have a tipping culture. And you know, I feel some kind of way about tipping, but in the US I do, specifically because I'm subsidizing your wages instead of you paying for what you should. Here it's a little bit more nuanced because I know what wages are, and I know that in some situation, literally a business could not operate and those people wouldn't make. So I have accepted it. And especially with the pandemic, hell, I've been tipping everybody.
Right. And you know, the other part of that is I want them to know I'm not here to take advantage of you. I want you to see that I am contributing. You know, I am part of it, and I am contributing, and I want you to do well. And let's just be honest. The level of service here, when you go for, even if it's just one cup, you know, I'm right in here, and the guy came, do I need to take your plate? And even though I'm right doing this interview, he took the plate, he wiped down the table. It's just a different, they live for service and good service. And to me, that's worth tipping. That's worth appreciating, you know? So, but that's more than anything about, oh, she's a Black woman. The question, or the question is, are you American?
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I perceive. That's what people want to know the most. Are you from the United States?
It's just, I find it fun because living in the US, you can never be anything other than a Black person. That's all you can be. Black woman. And so I like to go into places and I keep my mouth shut. And nobody makes any assumptions about where I'm from or what I'm doing there, because until I open my mouth, they don't really know.
They don't know.
So that's like the closest to rolling incognito that I've ever been able, because like you said, we can't blend in, but we don't necessarily stick out. Right. I don't know, like not in a negative way, or at least that's been my experience.
In other words, you're not perceived as a threat. And I've had so many people say, oh my goodness, you're beautiful. And that always shocks me, you know, but it's a curiosity, of course it is, but it's not something shunned. They're welcoming, you know what I'm saying? And here's my caveat. If I would be responsible for someone else following behind me, I would want them to bring that same open, positive, uplifting spirit with them, because I have heard of expats going other places and complaining. I don't want to do that. I'm always reminding myself that I am a guest here.
Exactly.
In another person's country. Exactly. So, you know, I don't want to wear my welcome out. You know, but,
so I know that you love living in a coffee region, some of the best coffee in the world, and you know, the slower pace and the natural beauty.
Yes.
Is there anything that you don't like about living in Chiapas?
Oh, okay. I think this is just Mexico in general. I have learned that mañana does not mean mañana. And remember, we're, you know, so
it doesn't.
I mean, people will look at you, oh, are you coming tomorrow? Yeah. And they have no intention of coming. I mean, even with my landlord, you know, and then whenever I get that twinge, I remind myself, Bev, just chill out, go with the flow. That is part of the culture. The other thing I don't like is that, you know, we're used to agree and disagree, and I have to teach the students, you know, it's okay if you disagree, because again, that closed culture where they'll say anything just to be polite and not hurt your feelings when they might need help and they don't understand something, you know. But it's just this thing where tomorrow does not mean tomorrow, and you have to know that, and then you just have to relax and let it go.
You know, those two things are related.
Yes.
Because it's worse to say, no, I'm not coming, or no, I can't do it. So you say yes, even though you absolutely have no intention on being there tomorrow. You say yes because it's a worse thing to be like, no.
Right. Okay, there's one other thing. You know, we have time limits on noise in the States, even if you're a party person. I don't know about you, but oh my goodness, if there's a celebration, I clocked it one time, it was 6:30 in the morning. Boom, oh no, and I had to look up, okay, what holiday is it now? So that's my other thing, is that noise can start early in the morning or late at night. And again, you just have to understand, well, these people love their fiestas. Oh, wait a minute, but my favorite thing is the nap, you know? Everybody knows, oh, it's after noise, nap time, you know, it's built into the culture. So again, that's something that I appreciate now, you know, but, you know, I have those two pet peeves, mañana and the noise. It can be noisy.
Yeah, it can be. And I am rarely ever bothered by the noise, but I realize that it is noisy. And so and this is something I say, because I did a video called 10 Reasons to Avoid Mexico City. And anybody who listens to me knows I adore this city, but I also understand that there are characters of the city that I just laugh off as being part of life in the city that other people, it would drive them nuts. So yeah, if your neighbors, the fiesta going to 5:30, 6:30 in the morning, you think that would be problematic, you definitely need to rethink.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, and you gotta accept it. Now, here's another thing that I've learned to appreciate. It's not really a pet peeve, but again, we've got personal space in the States. I think it's an arm length. That's not,
No.
that doesn't exist here. I mean, literally, people will talk like right here. You know what I'm saying? And this is part of the culture that, again, you observe it and you have to just appreciate it. But the first time that happened to me, I was actually doing some work at the computer center where I was in Guadalajara, and a student sat next, and I mean, our legs were like touching. And I didn't want to move because I understood, okay, space, So I just pretended to go to the restroom, wash my hands, and then I was able to inch over. But that's part of it. So you don't, you just have to understand, well, they're used to being very, very close together. That's a good thing if you really, really know the people, but there's ways to get around that, so just cultural differences.
Now, you've alluded to being a woman of a certain age.
Yes, ma'am.
We're not going to say exactly what that age is.
Thank you.
Okay. But one concern that I've seen from other women is, like what life looks like, or there's a bit of a concern about living outside the US as you age. Health care, medication, those kinds of things. So I don't know what you want to share on that particular topic.
Yeah, well, I would just like to say that there's a level of respect that I receive, probably because I'm very quick to tell people that I am a professor of English, because I was told in Guadalajara that there's a high level of respect, opposite of the United States, by the way.
Yes.
And then number two, the natural, the having access, health is wealth. So I can count on one hand the time that I've ever had some fast food, because that doesn't exist here, and having access. My sister said, Beverly, you lost weight on tacos. I mean, seriously, she got an attitude, because my first 30 days, I ate tacos every day. I said, you don't understand. And I said her name, you can bleep that out. I don't care, it's okay. But I told her, I said, do you understand the amount of fixings that they make to go on these tacos?
And it's all fresh.
It came from the market that day. So you don't want to take tacos to go. You want all the fixings, because all of that is fresh produce, fresh vegetables, fresh fruits. Of course you lose weight. And then, the coffee is not dirt. It's organic coffee, so there's subtle changes. And then I have not visited yet, but I've made note of the health food stores, the medicine women, the health medicine, natural medicine. And I even the other day found a day spa. I have put that in my calendar so that I can visit and ask about their offerings and their natural remedies, because I'm interested in that because of my health. Oh, let's talk about my medicine, right? Being in the States and having all access to the healthcare and still paying expensive co-pays and expensive medicine. And that is not the case here. I showed my bottle one time, and it was the generic. And the doctor told me, I'm not going to give you the generic. I'm going to give you the high-end brand.
Wait, stop right there. Roll that back. Your doctor, unprompted by you, said, no, I'm not going to give you the generic. I'm going to give you the name brand.
No, he actually sneered, right? and then looked it up online. And of course, I'm not knowing any mix of it. So my boss was with me that day. And I'll never forget, he just kept saying, it is my pleasure to serve you. It is I was like in La La Land at this point. They didn't even charge me. They took my blood pressure. It was normal. It was all that. No, 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 we're not charging. It is my pleasure. No, just let me know when you want to come back. And so he gave me the high end. He told me this is the better benefit, you know, because the one that you're taking tends to give you blood clots. And I'm like, what? My doctor didn't. What? Do you see what I'm saying? And he knew more about this medicine and what was better for me than even my doctor in the States, who was just trying to get paid. So make a long story short, then of course, at that time now, it's time for me to renew my private health care. I don't even know if I need it at this point. But without quote unquote Medicare or without any kind of health plan, no copay, out of pocket, my medicine was cheaper than in the States with a quote unquote insurance plan and copay. And my mouth just fell to the floor. Then I got smart and I asked one day at the pharmacy, because he told me just take this to the pharmacy. And now I know what to ask for. And the girl held up 2 bottles. Do you want 30 days or 90 days? I'll take the 90 days for $200, Alex. You know what I'm saying? Again, that was not offered in the States. You had to keep going back so that they could get those co-pays every 30 days, whether you were sick or not. And it's just a different mentality where they are proactive with your health and they want you to be healthy. It's just a different attitude. So
Do you have the doctor's phone number?
yes, I have the doctor's phone number. He told me I could come back. Now I have a friend who has another doctor that she says knows a little bit more English, so I may go and try to go with her. But it's just the fact that at that time, that was my boss's personal doctor.
It blows my mind every time when I think about how here you are encouraged. If there's an issue, just text the doctor.
Yeah.
And the doctor will be like, okay, go ask for it's like,
Yeah.
There's so many barriers between you and the care you need in the US. You know, just blows my mind.
My boss at that time, when we got back in the car, when she saw that I was almost in tears over how inexpensive it was and how easy it was, she said, well, you know, I heard about the healthcare and the problems and the prices in the States. Is that true? I said, you cannot even imagine. I said, I'm still in shock over how cheap this is with no health insurance and no copay, how cheap it was. It was like half of what I would have paid in the States. And the fact that they refuse to charge me. Here I am pulling out money. Oh, no. It is our pleasure to serve you today. Stay healthy. And if you need to come back and check your blood pressure anytime, we are here. I've heard that so many times. We are here to serve you. I'll never forget saying hello to the National Guard downtown. Hello, how are you? We're here to serve you. I always hear that over and over again. It's just amazing to me. It's a different mentality, you know?
So I'm guessing you would say that your quality of life has improved since you moved to Mexico?
Quality of life has improved. My health has improved. Stress is non-existent. No stress. Mm-mm. And I'm like you. Anything at this point that might look stressful is I don't do it. I don't even entertain it.
No, I don't want no part of it.
No, those days over with. Nope.
Well, I think that is a great note for us to end this interview. I am going to put the links in the description for the program that Beverly did. If you're wondering what to watch next, Beverly's YouTube channel is called Miles and Coffee. I also have a playlist, Black Women Moving to Mexico, where I highlight different Black women moving all to actually different parts of the country.
Yes.
If you are watching this and you enjoyed it, I hope you subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead, do that. Hit the notification bell. I didn't mention this, but I'll mention it now. If you're watching this and you are now intrigued and you're thinking about doing that research that Beverly mentioned about preparing for a move abroad, I have a free move abroad checklist that I will put a link for it in the description as well. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Beverly.
Thank you. And if you don't mind, please send a checklist. I would like to put that on my channel. I was telling them to do research. Now I can give them a checklist to make it easier.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. This was great.